from whatever we're learning, a little bit of a lumdus within those things. A little bit of a lumdus. We got 45 minutes, we got an hour, a little bit of a lumdus in something that we spoke about. A few geschmack alumnus that I want to share. We spoke about a few weeks ago in the Shabbos Shiur. We spoke about grains, granola, Quaker oats, the quick cooking oats, sugar crisp, pearl barley, v'chulu v'chulu v'chulu. So one of the things we were talking about, and I mentioned it Sunday, is if you buy sugar crisp cereal, so some of the boxes will write that the bracha is mazonos nalamichyo, and other the boxes write that the bracha is hadama. Hadama. Who? That the bracha is hadama, and better to eat it b'tei chasuda, otherwise you make a bite in the chashis. So I just want a few little nekudas about that, and then I want to go into another geshmak sugya. I see, there's a whole bunch of people on there.
Okay. Take care of
I think there was 6 people on here. Together with us here, we got a minion.
If only they come from America.
Okay, very good.
If only half of you come from America.
Here. Gotta look in here.
I think he's very kind with that.
So here, take it. Hopefully we'll get to both. Here.
What's the ingredient?
What's the ingredient of the sugar crisp? So what the basic ingredient of the sugar crisp is feta, wheat, and it's funny because companies, even though this was invented and presented by Quaker Oat Company at the World Fair in 1904, Adayoim, companies are very nervous about giving their recipes out. So if you go online, you'll see they don't show you a tutorial or nothing. But the way that Moshe describes it in his Truvah is that this bishul, alamai dechitim ashleimim, and it seems that it's not exactly what it is. Basically, they pop it like popcorn. It just, from the articles that I read, and maybe you'll find out a little better or different, that wheat doesn't hold that much, it doesn't have too much moisture in it to begin with, and doesn't have a husk that will hold it tight. See, what happens with the popcorn is that it has a strong husk and it has plenty of liquid. So it pops. You give enough heat, that they're nice people, you apply enough heat, so the popcorn are the perfect candidate for that. They hold it in, because there's a lot of liquid in there, but on the other hand, it holds it. The chita doesn't have that much water, and the husk is more weak. Right. So therefore, the companies. In the meantime, you're looking at sugar crisp. And so the companies soak it in water maybe for a few hours, or they go through a little bit of the steaming process. It's an afkamina. I'd love to know Taka what they do, but it seems that they do saturate it with some water. But at the end of the day, it does go through a process of puffing, like same like corn. Obviously, bigger machines, more technique, and it's not like the popcorn you make in your house in a pot. There's a lot of unpopped kernels, so they don't want to have that. And also, they don't want to have that it should be different sizes. They want it to pop in the perfect oifen. They all are equal size. So for that's a chochma, be'eina malacha. So for that, they're paying a lot of money. And they have technology with machines. Otherwise, me and you can also pop wheat in our pots, right? We could put a little bit of oil, it shouldn't burn, and put in the pot, and it'll pop. Okay, so Okay, so if that's true, so I raised the thing that maybe this should be mezainis because you're cooking. You're cooking. Elamai, the Baisha holds that there's three shittas. We spoke about the three shittas. If you need that nidluku or tesmachu or just an, and it's totally, you know what, just keep it by Adon. But the Alter Rebbe, it seems, hold that no, it doesn't have to be nidluku and tesmachu. That as long as the peel is off and you cooked it in water. But the truth is, I don't think it's really considered cooking in water. If you remember, we learned the Vedic Bays in the Alter Rebbe, the fact that if they steam it, I'm a little hesitant to say this, but even if they steam it, they probably at the end of the steaming, it's still not royal achila.
Right.
It's so it's like soaking in water. But we had in the sugya of when you fry wheat. So we had, if there's a little bit of oil, kadesha like the soda, that's called afiyah. If there is a lot of liquid and it's swimming inside, that's called bishul. Therefore, when you deep fry something or lokshin that goes in the water, that's why it's mezainis. Lasagna also, they argued goes in the oven, but they put a lot of sauce, so mezainis. If it's a dough and there is liquid, but it's not kadesha loy tesara, but it's not so much complicated. So if you're baking the same dough, if you throw it into the oven, it's mezainis or amoitzi. But the same dough that would be amoitzi in the oven, when you throw it in a pot with water or you deep fry it in oil, it's mezainis. So the Alter Rebbe says, how about if you put it in the oven or on a frying pan and you put ma'at shemen kadesha loy tesarif? That's considered baking. If you put half an inch of shemen, complicated. Depends if the isa was like a hard isa. But so we see from this that putting a drop of oil that you're baking something, you're baking rolls, and then you spray pan. So that's not called tigun. That's called afiyah. And that bread is a moitza lechem and haaretz. The same bread. If you throw it into, like, people think that the reason why the jelly donuts are donuts, it could be the same dough. You could take the same dough, half of it. What do we do in our house Hanukkah time? My wife makes chal anyway every Friday. So she has extra dough. What does she do with the extra dough? Right. So the extra dough, she takes it, makes it like this, and she fries it. The same dough. There's the one that is fried. It's goyim in a mezainis. The one that goes in the is a moitzi. What if you take a spray and pan and you spray that's smart kadesha loy tesarif. That doesn't count. I was thinking that could be the same thing here when they they're not cooking it in water. The water when they start popping them, they're not putting water inside. It's just that the chita is saturated in water from before. But I don't know if that's considered bishul b'mayim. If you looked in that machine right now, there's no water. It's dry. Elamai, the chita has the chita. I don't know if that's counted, just like when you're baking something and you spray pan and you put a little bit of shemesh, that's not called tigun l'chol hadeis. It's not. Same thing here. The fact that they were soaked for a few hours in water, or if they went through a process of steaming, but if it's not edible at the end of the steam, which is probably the case, because why would they have to steam it so much ad kedei kach to become edible? They're just steaming it to whatever later to pop well. So the ma'at mayim that goes into the guns that are popping the thing, that ma'at mayim is not called bishul b'mayim. I don't think that's called bishul b'mayim. So we're back. I think we're back to the Moshe, but for a different reason. That l'chol hadeis, not negay of what you hold. L'chol hadeis, anything which is not bishul, if it's a kloyis. In the days of the Gemara, when they talk about snacks, they always talk about giving children kloyis ve'goyis. They didn't have the nuts, the candies. They had two types of snacks: roasted nuts and roasted wheat. That was the snack of the day. Roasted snack was these two things: kloyis ve'goyis.
When they roast wheat, it's soft or it's hard?
I don't know. I wonder. I mean, the only wheat we roast is what we really have is puff wheat. It could be plain without sugar, it could be with sugar. They don't sell in the store roasted wheat, which is not puffed. Probably the puffed is more geschmack. That's why in the different places in the world, Thailand, China, whatever, different places, there's street vendors that they do it fresh food. They bring the chita from the farm, they have it in a bucket, and they stand there like with they take a molon or something, they connect it to, and then they go choo choo choo, and then they pop out the chita, and they sell it to you for whatever, for cheap. Like in the street, they sell it to you adayom in different places. Tak klois vegois. This is the snack. This is so I think tak it's the Berachos adoma. The Beracha Chroina is a shayla. It's al adoma or pri adoma or per nefoshes. Better to eat in the suda, but if you eat it plain, you make a bar nefoshes. The question is this. Go back to the question that I mentioned. The question is, the Moshe says it's bar pri adoma. I looked at the ingredients. It runs between 51 to 55 sugar. And I read an article that they said that a lot of the companies realized that 5% sugar and 45% is the wheat. So the companies realized that people are not buying it anymore because they got more conscious about health. And so they changed the name from sugar puffs to golden puffs. Go into the store, you'll see. You remember when you were a kid, they were called sugar puffs. They're not called sugar puffs. You can't find them anymore. But it's the same exact item. Instead of calling it, yes, and there's no more sugar puffs. Now it's called golden puffs. Nothing changed besides the word on the package, because the companies realized that no one wants to buy sugar. No one wants to buy sugar. People want to buy gold. Gold is good. Huh? It doesn't say sugar. Frosting. Who knows what it is? The fact that it's 100% sugar, fragt mich. Huh? Yeah. So here's the thing. The Moshe says it's Adom. I would say, what do you mean? Maybe it should be shahakol because it's 55% sugar. It's probably the Moshe thought, look, come on, you're joking. You're eating the wheat for the sugar for the wheat. You want to eat wheat for breakfast. Not the kids. Oh, I'm not sure. So the emphasis, there's a machloikis, a very interesting machloikis. It's not so pronounced, but it's a machloikis. It's a machloikis. Mogam Ram Nebnois. We say the din is kol sheyesh b'chameshes minei dogon, anything that has the 5 grains in it, because the bracha is vitamin mazonis. That's why, and I mentioned this a few times, the schnitzel argument. The schnitzel argument is really, it's a machlokas rishonim. But the Rashba says, and the Alter Rebbe passing at the Rashba, that anything that has a drop of flour in it right away becomes mazonis, unless it's with the pukka beyam. Not everyone agrees with the Rashba. The Alter Rebbe passing is like the Rashba. Unless it's the pukka beyam. Now, in Mitzvah Shem, when we get a chance, it's something I wanted to also, again, I'm sharing. There's a Geschmack Tshuva from the Avnei Neiser. The Avnei Neiser realized that his wife was making meatballs for supper, and she was stuffing it with breadcrumbs. So all of a sudden wait a minute. I was always making on the meatballs and spaghetti, and the spaghetti I was making zoinus, and the meatballs I was making shahakol. But wait a minute, now you're putting breadcrumbs in here and you're cooking it. Okay, it's breadcrumbs are small. Huh? Okay, so it goes from a moitzi to mazoinus, but it should be mazoinus. He has a whole pilpul. Maybe this is one of the things I should have brought to tonight. But anyway, it's not just bekitze geschmack. He says he has 2 things. He says it occurred to him that there's several reasons why they can be putting it in the breadcrumbs. One is to make it more nipuach, because the bread is $1 a pound, and meat is $10 a pound, so it's 9 times cheaper. The other one is lerachik, to make it soft. It's true when the meat, even ground meat, and a lot of times when you buy dishes or even your wife make it, you see it's so wow, it's soft like butter. The trick is because the bread crumbs that are inside make it soft. Versteht sich with the sauce and everything, but it's the breadcrumbs inside that make it soft. I saw like there's a caterer that I like that my wife I buy for her not like my wife, I buy for the family for Shabbos if I'm in Kronitz. I stop by David Malka. He's if you have in Kronitz, it's a great place to stop. It's like a mom and pop shop. It's on Carroll between where's Troy and Schenectady. 3 houses from the corner. You'll smell it the head of Shabbos. There's no sign, but park your car. Gib a Schmeck. It's the gleich zem all again. It's the wissen from the gate, and they make yeah. You like I said, you just smell. You walk with your nose. You'll go there. So I noticed once I saw how they're making, and so they have everything secret recipe. They talk and make things very good. That's why people come. I see people come there from Amish all over Brooklyn. A guy I seen the other day, I said, where are you from? He says, from Williamsburg. I said, Williamsburg. It's the capital of good food in the world. What's gibt's to do? He says, the weiß nicht, do the best est. So, yeah, this guy is all of a shalom. He was a cook. He was a cook in the yeshiva in Oleg Torah. He was a great guy. He was all of a shalom. He's a very nice guy. And he was like, yeah, like which yeshiva ever gave such good food? I mean, this guy was like the best you cannot imagine. You cannot imagine. I remember one summer when they made their own can. Now again, they made their own can, and the hook and sink was that the David Malk is coming with, and the takin was like he was really good. He liked the Talmidim and it was unbelievable. Then he made it a little bit of a business. So didn't make a difference. It was still the business was. He passed away a few years ago because his wife took over. I saw they're making chopped liver, and I see them putting in dried challah. Because I guess it's not only the nipuach, it makes it flavorful. So he says there's 3 things. He says, if it's there for flavor, you got a problem. He says, but he thinks in the meatballs, it's not there for the flavor. He thinks it's for nipuach and to lerach. So he says, lerach, he says, for sure, it's like ledabek. What are you putting the crumbs to make it soft? That's like ledebuki the almond. Just like an Ajmer said, if it's only there for glue, that the flour is discounted. But the nipuach, it's I want the flour. Back and forth, and then he was makel. He says that the mezonis loses its chiyuvos. If it's taken for time, but his maskana is that the meatballs that have breadcrumbs are shahak. So a lot of to play in because we say kol sheish remei chameshes min dogan. But I eat the herring with the cracker. He doesn't want the cracker. He does. That's if he doesn't want the cracker. That's the liver. Meatball doesn't want the. That's the pilpul. That's what I'm saying. He's saying, But he's saying maybe for nipuach you really want. But then he says you want it only for the. It's like it's like an interesting shayla. He back and forth, and then he says, nah, shahaku. The same would apply with gefilte fish today. They put yeah. Now the Pesach the gefilte fish they put in potato starch. So takazo, it's no shayla. But like lately, there was on sale. There was Raskin's fish. So I brought it. The kids said, "Tati, we don't like it. Buy the other ones, the Freunds and the Ungers." So I said, "Why?" It's gefilte fish. It's in a package. So they said, "No, because the Raskins has carrots in it." So I was thinking carrots is better because carrots are at least carrots. The other guys are putting in breadcrumbs. I don't know what. It's white. It's not white from fish. It's white from something. No, Tati, we don't want with the carrots. So it's the same shaila. The answer is that it's shahakal. Because the emesis, at the end of the day, if you put, it's a filler. What does it? So So okay, now but if the breadcrumbs are there, not stamped for a filler, they're there for tam. So like with schnitzel, it's very hard to say that the crumbs are there for a filler.
Like taste.
They like the taste because they'll in any restaurant or at home, you could always take schnitzel and make it without breadcrumbs. You have grilled schnitzel.
I know it's people in culture. So I know that I'm trying this way. So yes, why yes, and so it's that physics theory as actors. It's was problem. Why you asking me? What? I said to speak to a man. Love to ask the silent. That's one. Magnesium stearate is what? Magnesium stearate is a magnesium stearate comes on atom source solids, but it's only used to get the milk in and out of the dye. Yeah. Yes, it's a minute amount. But granted, if you crush this and change it to the sea system, so it's definitely about the system.
Okay, but yeah, there's another issue which is derech achilosim and not derech achilosim. That's the real thing.
So it's I guess and I understood.
They use it only for the capsule, or they use it for the content.
The capsule, yes, the one where listen,
Mm-hmm.
kind of when opening, so it's something that scientists can't make. But when I understood about it, it's looking for it's fine. Comes to meditations, and it's something you decide that you want.
Usually they're relying it's shloike derech achilosim. It's not the way of eating these products. It's an extract. Send me a copy of the label. Anyway, so back to our shaila. So the Gemara says, "Kol shehu mechameshes minei dogon, kol sheyesh mechamesh minei dogon bechotz bari min mezainis." How about if this dogon is not mezainis? It's adoma type of dogon. Smachlok Magen Avraham and Even Oizer. Magen Avraham says because chameshes minei dogon has a chivus and it holds on to its bracha. But the Adama, because the bracha on whole grains.
What would be an example? If you take schnitzel,
What's going to be sugar crisp? 55% is sugar. So if you'll say that you're eating it for the grain, okay. But if you're saying that really people are eating it because it's sugar, because shmokemu people like sugar, this is a classic machloikis. The Magen Avraham says, 5 grains win. The bracha is Adama. And Even Oizer says, no, you made a big mistake. It's only when it's brachos and mezainis.
Wow.
So, and the Alter Rebbe passes like the Magen Avraham, because the Even Oizer says the chshibas of chameshes minei dogon is only when the bracha is mezainis, because that's shvach eretz Yisrael, and he brings several rayas. Only when it has the bracha mezainis does it have an alamichya, and only then does it have a din kedima bebrachas. And otherwise, the Chazal didn't give it an alamichya. So what are you telling me? So the Even Oizer argues. He says if it would be Adama, then it wouldn't have that chshivas that whenever it's mixed into a mixture that it wins the bracha. Magen Avraham says no. The chameshes minei dogon, even if the bracha is Adama, the chameshes minei dogon it wins. So
You even say the sugar was Adam also, the shayla. So,
right.
it's two working. That's
Right. Well, the point we name on very stark that sugar is shakal. If you went with different poskim, like I mentioned, it's outside of. It's almost as if you have sugar and tea, make a dog. Well, the point we name on very stark that sugar is shakal. So
maybe it's not going to be
I think we name on like the Rambam, because the Rambam says sugar is be'etzem shakal. And the Shulchan Aruch passes the Alter Rebbe passes that way in the strongest possible way. Now, some The Gro is not so sure about it. The Taz anointed to say that it's eight or Adam. But yeah, they're very heady. The hitters. The minig oil of the poil of Kulabavich and Siddim Befrat. Now they're Bichsanan and unequivocally passing the Rambam the sugar shackle. So that's so possible to be. Okay. So that's so now. So that this would be totally in this machloikis. This would be totally in this machloikis. If you ask the Magen Abraham, he would say, "I don't care that you're eating the sugar crisp in order to have sugar because it's a delicious sugary cereal. I don't care because chameshus minin it wins the bracha and the bracha is better priyadama." You ask the Even Oizer would say, "No, but the 55%. Whenever you eat, whenever you're in doubt." Who's the ikar and the toffel and a product that was baked or cooked together? It's one bracha. The bracha is going to be the roiv. So we have to go with the roiv. So it's shahakol. So the Mishnah Berurah paskins like the Even Oizer, it's Simanesh Ches. But the Alter Rebbe paskins like the Magen Avraham. So if you follow the Alter Rebbe, so there's no shaila that the sugar crisp will never become shahakal, even if the rest will become 60 or 70% sugar. As long as it's wheat and it's chameshus minei dogon, it's going to have. So there's several shailas that they ask on this. So before we go to the shailas, first, the Tur says just look, I made a copy of mine. I want to print out some of the things. So the lotion of the Tur is. The Torah says that chameshus minim, that there's five things. There's chameshus fruits, and then there's chameshus minei dog. By the way, it has to do with the parsha, not this coming Shabbos, following Shabbos. As Chitos Soida, the Torah makes a big deal out of it. The mile of Eretz Yisrael, Shevach Eretz Yisrael, is that it has five special fruits and five special grains. We call it Shivas Minim, but the Chachamim tell us that there is Avan Atulda. That the two grains also, the Chita has Atulda, which is the kusemis, and the side of a kusemis, and that's chita has a tulda, which is the kusemis, which is spelled, and soida has a tulda, which is shiboy l'shul and shifan, rye and oats. So in total, you have five fruits and five grains. 5 fruits and 5 grains in Eretz Yisrael. So he writes that because the chameshus minei dogon are so special, so therefore the nishtapcha b'hem Eretz Yisrael. So he says shekusmin min chitim heim v'shavay l'shul v'shifem min sa'idem heim v'oid yesh lamayla k'aleim yichyod v'yimosam hem pas mevorach hamoitzi. Hilchos afilo lo yosam hem pas ala tafshel k'gom ha'iskedeiro idaisa afilo yidiv imoim derash mevorach aleim b'odim min mazonis l'basoi bracha achamein shalosh. So depends how you read the Tur. Would it be if the Magen Avraham or the Even Oizer?
When someone cooked it,
Still, I'll tell you like this. If you look about Shvach Eretz Yisrael, the first reason, so Shvach Metzad, so the Bach says Metzad, the Shvach of Eretz Yisrael, they gave it a bracha achrona of Mein Shalosh. And the Even Oizer is right. When the wheat is whole and was roasted, the bracha is Boide Pri Adama and does not have Mein Shalosh. Shu Tosfos holds that maybe it should have Mein Shalosh. And we try to eat it, but Suda. But we don't pass him like Tosfos that the bracha achrona is al Adama al Pri Adama. But if you look at the second reason, which is Aleim Yichya Adam, that the 5 things that a person lives of the grains. Okay, so the truth, the lashon apostle is loyal alechem lavadi yichya adam kalo aboitza pi Hashem yichya adam. But if you ask a nutritionist, say, come on, what's the difference if the grain gives a person nutrition? What's the difference if the grain was baked as a bread, or baked as a cookie, or cooked in a pot as pasta, or was rolled oats in a granola bar? My nafkamina. Grains will settle your hunger pains and will fill you up in a certain way that other things will not fill you up. So
it's not always Berachos.
So, but if you're telling me Aleim Yichya, so you could read it that way, but you could read it. He says, one, and the Bach says that the reason why they gave a bracha acharona to the 5 minim and the 5 fruits and the 5 grains, because Shvech Eretz Yisrael, that Eretz Yisrael has these 5 grains and these 5 fruits that are unbelievable. In the whole world, they don't grow as well as in Eretz Yisrael, these 5 fruits and 5 grains. And why did they make a special bracha rishona only for the grains? Fruits, even the fruits of Eretz Yisrael, just have Beit Priyates. But the 5 grains in Eretz Yisrael, because in Eretz Yisrael there's a special cheshivas, so they made a special bracha amoitzi lechem min haaretz on it. Why? Because the 5 grains have a separate mile. Besides Shevach Eretz Yisrael, which Mitzad Shevach Eretz Yisrael, they made a special bracha acharona. And Mitzad, the fact that it fills your hunger pains, that carbohydrates, even though today high carbohydrates got the worst rep in the world, and Allah, it's the worst thing. But the Metzias is, when a person is very hungry, bread, cookies, these things settle their hunger very, very well. And they're making today a whole shirchat. The truth is, in the very refined flours, they're saying that the body processes it very fast and takes out the sugar too quickly. Yeah. So who asked you to bake your cookies and bread out of white flour? Use whole wheat flour. Buy pasta that's whole wheat flour. Buy challah that's whole wheat flour. Buy bread that's whole wheat flour. And then gendik. And then it takes longer for the body to squeeze out the dust. And therefore, sugar at the end of the day is not the worst thing in the world. It's just that it's refined sugar. So the white flour is very refined. So eat it whole wheat.
By the way, my Mechutin's brother-in-law, his wife's brother, wrote in his book To Your Health, which you can get at Eichler's, that he fed the Rav Shach. 35 years he was his gabbai. Yeah. And he fed him only whole wheat bread.
Okay. That's good. That's good, because you should be healthy.
Now we're talking about vegan, so I'm back to being
back to the grains. So the ve'oid is why does it have a special first bracha? Because Aleim Yichya Ad. So there's 2 ways of reading it. Now he says Hilchos Chafila Lo Yasam and Pas Ala Tavshil Vavarach Aleim Beidim Minim Azaynas. So the Prisha says, what's the Hilchos? It should have said the Yesh Lamayla Aleim Yichya Ad. V'Mosam and Pas Vavarach Hamoitze V'Mosam Emek Naisam Vavarach Mazaynas. What's the Hilchos? I would say you can answer it if you hold like the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham is going to say like this. Mitzad the mile of Aleim that Aleim Yichya Adam. So they said 2 things. Number 1, they said if you're going to make bread out of it, we'll give you a special bracha. Amoitze lechem min haaretz. But Hilchos, therefore, they also said another thing, which is not the second thing. Is if it got mixed in, it's not mitzad. The point is not takshiv, is the bracha is mezainas, because the same thing would apply by Adama. Really, it's just that usually flour is. It's an anomaly that a grain is Adama. That if it goes into a mixture, it's so choshev that he will retain the bracha even if he's the mute. So that's probably the way the Magen Avraham read it. So I think that's totally the machlokes. The Magen Avraham that noise is totally. Why is it that we say that 5 grains maintains its chashivus? We say that the 5 grains maintains its chashivus in a very strong way. The 5 grains always holds on to its chashivus, unless it's in gefilte fish or it's in meatball and it's only there to soften it or to make it because it's cheaper. But otherwise, chameshes minidagan always wins the bracha. So everyone is going to say, you know why it wins the bracha? Because Shevach Eretz Yisrael. Oh, Shevach Eretz Yisrael. So tell me what's the bracha acharona on this item. If it's not Mein Gimel, it's not Shevach Eretz Yisrael. It would have had a Mein Gimel at the end. Since this grain the sugar puffs. If you bracha achrani, you tell me is a burden of flesh. Better to eat it in the meal because Tosfos thinks adama pe'adama. But l'pal, you're going to make a burden of flesh. So it doesn't have the mile of sheva cheretz Yisrael. What are you telling me that it's going to win? But if you're telling me that the reason why, when it goes into mixture, it's going to maintain its shivas, because aleim lavada yichya adam, the grain makes a person live. So now easily you could say, come on, when we say grain makes a person live, my nafkamina, if the grain is bread, cookies, pasta, or popped grain like popcorn. If it's mamish made as bread, it's very chivas, so they gave it the bracha. If it's pasta or cookies, it's less kosher or dices and it's even less kosher because it's just kloyes vegoyes was roasted in the oven. It's boide priyadam. But lagabe satisfying aleim yichya adam lagabe satisfying my satisfying me. What's the difference? Grain is grain is grain. If it's part of the 5 grains, so what's the difference if the bracha rishona was hamoitzi or mezainis or adama? 5 grains. It's like you see when you eat a granola bar in the morning. It does much more to you than when you eat an apple or an orange or a peach or a plum or watermelon or cantaloupe. You could eat 2-3 pieces of cantaloupe, but if you're very hungry, if you're exercising for an hour, a piece of plum is not going to do the job, but a piece of a granola bar will do the job. So, one second, that's why it takes the chashivas. So that's, I think, the machloik is between the Magen Avraham and Even Oizer. If you're looking about Shvach Eretz Yisrael, this guy is brachas adam and burden of so he's not Shvach Eretz Yisrael. But if you're saying Aleim Yichya Adam, it satisfies my hunger pains. Yes, grain will satisfy my hunger pains. Oh, what's the difference if the bracha rishona is hamoitzi and the zaynis hadama? It satisfies my hunger pains. The difference retains shivas. So that's the bottom line. Therefore, according to sugar puffs, if you say that the main thing here is the sugar, 55% of sugar, and so according to the Ibn Oizer, according to the Alter Rebbe, I don't care. It's a chameshes minei dogan, and it takes away your hunger pain. Aleim yichya adam, and therefore the bracha. It holds on to its bracha. So since it's Adama, the cereal is the bracha's Adam.
Where's the Hilchos? Where's the Lashon of Hilchos? Whoever was just quoting
here the tour. The tour says V'oid yesh lamayim kaleim yichya adam imasam apas mavarach hamoitzi hilkach afilu lo yosam amel tafshul kegon daisa mavarach b'edem in mazaynis. What's the v'hilkach? I say Pasha because he's saying a separate thing. Masam apas mavarach hamoitzi. Because Aleim Yichya Adam, besides the fact that the bracha rishon is going to be sometimes amoitzi, which is a very choshev bracha, and sometimes mazon. But hilkach, if you mixed into a pot, it's 2 separate things. Talking about what's the bracha rishon, and also it's at Aleim Yichya Adam. It's going to always hold on to the bracha. I don't care if it's amoitzi, mazonis, or adam.
things that are different to the example. Tortillas, point.
A lot of the tortillas that are corn also put in wheat flour. Yesterday in 770, there was a Rav. He traveled here a little for a few weeks. He got married with Zivuk Shani. You remember? He was in Melbourne. He was married to it. So he lived here for a little bit. So he showed me a package. It's the corn tortillas, but the second ingredient was wheat. And it's hard to imagine the wheat is only there as a filler. Corn and wheat.
What about potato starch?
That's different. But if
based on the algorithm, thing that it satisfies you the most.
If it has the 5 grains, the 5 grains are here not only as a filler. 5 grains are here to. I think the tortillas that have wheat, it's not a coincidence. They're putting in wheat because probably wheat balances the taste. And not everyone likes the corn taste.
Let's say that and then potato starch.
I know. I'll tell you what. You could. It's true. It's a good question. Person say
instead of the tortillas are mighty, so it's baked on a dry surface. And you put it in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably the amoitzi. When I said mezainis, I meant mezainis or amoitzi, depending on what the other ingredients are. If there's a lot of sugar versus if there's water. I didn't mean mezainis tafke, mezainis. Really, when I see too much, I just explain it. It's not. I meant mezainis or amoitzi, depending on what the other ingredients are.
These are abundant chemists as well.
It's interesting. You asked me a good question because a lot of this one to talk about, like for example, those companies that write the Zionist by, they say in the Zman Chazal, it wasn't the roasted wheat was only a snack, but it wasn't. Today, roasted wheat is really what most Americans eat for breakfast. Between cornflakes and oides, what's it called? The oides that is popped. No, rice krispies. Basically, never put aside corn, but Rice Krispie is a very popular, or Rice Krispie with a lot of sugar, like cocoa pebbles, and fruity pebbles. These are all rice, which has a suffix whatsoever. Really, probably rice is oides, which is the Zionist, but the Alter Rebbe says it's a suffix. And then between all kinds of grains that they use, basically this is what most Americans eat for breakfast. It's shifting already. I don't know today if it's azoi, but at least till when we were kids, and going back for 50 years, most of America ate these type of grains for breakfast. So that's the derech. So it's maybe in the Zman Hashas, the derech achila was, this was klois vegoizim was only eaten as a snack, but today klois vegoizim are eaten as a suda. But it's hard to change things. Say, because once Chazal were kaveya, it's you could argue that there's room to argue that, but it's very Chazal, because bezman hashas the bread was baked in an oven, and if you didn't eat bread, at least you ate farina or kasha, like oatmeal, or like the white stuff. What are they called? The farina, yeah, farina or oatmeal. That's what they ate. And if they roasted the wheat, that was called klois vegoizim. It's again for kleine kinder. That was a snack. So it stays that way. We'll say that today klois are eaten by most Americans for breakfast. You can argue, but sounds like once the Chazal already kaveya that that's it.
Adama
Adama klois, right?
Big Schwarden they don't. So in the sacred Schwarden.
There's no machlokes Machaber Ramon. There's no machlokes Machaber Ramon.
Sacred by Rabbi Bad.
Fakert. The Rambam is him. Okay, it's easier according to the Rambam to get to the Zionist, but still, there's sometimes going to be Adama. According to the Rambam, it's easier as long as but you have to be Bishul B'mayim. If you're not Bishul B'mayim, then it's going to be Adama. Floyes l'chol days. That's what the din, the Gemara. Okay, so
Doesn't like when something gets off the school, just a bowl of cereal.
I don't like it.
My wife doesn't like it.
Oh, why not?
She's not feeling it. It's not.
It is because it's the same grain, huh?
I don't get filled with it. So, yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah. So, hey, it's bread, something like cereal is not.
I mean, the going theory was in America for many years that it's the same thing. So why not mean it? Huh?
My mother never gave me cereal.
I know because it's European,
No, it's not good.
No, this was an American invention. Mr. Kellogg, the cat delay that came up with this thing. Part of it was true. Part of it, the slippery slope to eating sugar. Like some of the cereals are not bad. The whole oat bran, Marshall. I find if I eat a bowl of oat bran it's broch rishona b'chayim is no shaila, zenes alabisha, a bowl or 2 bowls, I get full machayim. But there's other cereals that have a ton of sugar. So takazoy, So just a few tainas that they had against the Magen Avraham. The Gemara, one of the tainas, we're not even going to get to the Rishis. Doesn't matter. I said Monday night we're just going to talk about what's on my mind, what's exciting to me. So one of the tainas that they had against the Magen Avraham that I see in the contemporary Sforim is that the Rabbi Shmuel the Amri Tarvai called sheyesh b'mechameshes minei dog levorchim l'boidim minim azoynes. How can he pass against the Gemara? We see the chashivas of chameshes minim is when the bracha is mazoynes. That's a Gemara. What the Magen Avraham doesn't know how to read a Gemara. He's reading the Gemara backwards. The Magen Avraham says, "Oh, you see, Rabbi Shmuel said called sheyesh b'mechameshes minim yesh b'chashivas." So therefore, even when the bracha is adama, it maintains. But that's not the words in the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Aravu Shmuel the Amrit Vayu." Kol sheyesh b'mechameshes minei dogim mevorchen alav boidim minim azoynos. The problem is the shard is too good. The Magen Avraham you can't find a Misl Gemara, but the Ashur has to be cool. Oh, so I think the answer is like this. The Gemara continues. Amar Rabbi Shmuel kol shehu mechameshes minim mevorchen alav boidim minim azoynos. What it says, my kamash law. Cheda yingo leis the chameshes minim is boidim minim azoynos. So the Gemara says that Rabbi Shmuel wanted to tell you that rice is shahak. The Gemara says the leis hilchos to Rabbi Shmuel that the oides is boidim minim azoynos. Again, the Alter Rebbe says we don't know oides and doichem. The Welt fearzach that rice is mazoynos. The Alter Rebbe says shahak. Never mind. But whatever is really oides, the Gemara says is boidim minim azoynos. And leis hilchos to Rabbi Shmuel. So. Wait a minute.
What's less than
rice?
Or
They want less hilchos about rice. They said kol shehu mechameshes minim mevorchim ala boidim minim azoynos. Lafuki oides that oides is shahak, and the Gemara says no, oides is mazoynos and boidim navoshes. So now you understand. Rabbi Shmuel said two members, one back to back. He said, "Kol sheyesh b'mechameshes minei dog and morchem b'rim mezonos. Kol shehu mechameshes minei dog and morchem b'rim mezonos." It's like a trick on words. And the Gemara says, "Why do we need twice? One to tell you lafuki oides, and one to tell you that even though it got mixed in, and it's a little bit, even though dufshe iker that the roiv and the iker is the dufshe, but because there's a little bit of smida, there's a little bit of flour in here, and it's chameshes minim, he wins. There's a tzrichas on both sides." Now, on the other side, when they wanted to say that rice is shahakal, not mazoynos, so they needed to say these words: "Kol shehu mechameshes minim, kol shehu chameshes minim, mevarchim boidim minim mazoynos." To say, but rice not. That they have to say the word mazoynos. So agav urcha, they said kol sheyesh b'mechameshes and mevarchim boidim minim mazoynos because of the chashivas, but they didn't mean mazoynos. They meant mazoynos adama. What's anafka minim? Because it's chameshes minim. Obviously, that's what the Magen Avraham held. So you could smirk in it and say that. I'm just obviously that's that the Magen Avraham felt they didn't mean kol sheyesh b'mechameshes boidim minim azoynos. It's just that they wanted to say the other member, and the other member they must say because they wanted to say two members. They wanted to be cute. They wanted to say two members, and you figure out what's the tzrichas.
What's the kiddush of Magen Avraham? I missed that.
The Magen Avraham says that if anything that's chameshes minei dogon wins the bracha. I don't care if it's amoitzi, mazoynos, adoma. If you're chameshes minim, you win the bracha. It's a mixture, even though you're a miut. And the Eben HaOizer says it has to be the your bracha is amoitzi or mazoynos. But if you're adoma, you lose. You don't win the day. And the nafkamina is sugar crisp. Sugar crisp is 55% sugar and 45% wheat. And most kindlech like it not because of the wheat, but because of the sugar. And the people that like to eat it because of the wheat buy the same package for less than half the price without sugar, because you have puffed wheat also. It's just half the price for the same amount. So the people that are paying double the price for the same amount is because it's a hechetitz of how to eat sugar. That's a separate thing. That's when it's mazoynos. It's a separate thing. It's a separate thing. So my shaila is, what's the bracha on sugar crisp? Because 55% is sugar. So if you hold like the Eben HaOizer, the bracha is shahakal. And if you hold like the Magen Avraham, the bracha is b'ri pri adama. That's the bottom line. I had another raya to bring from a Rosh Yosef, which is a Prima Godem.
Also, the summer rub had, you know, like the summer rub.
No, what?
You pour dough like a liquid into a pan. Not the real,
No, but that's a sugya in the Gemara. Trima, if it's a watery thing and it ends up being flat.
I remember the yeshiva, the cakes that they serve were made like that. Spongy cake. How do they make
No, but
it's not a dough. It's not like a cookie.
a pancake. It
Yeah.
has to be that later it's also flat. The cake is it's not the trima is that it's watery and it's on a pan and it's flat.
Crepes.
Like crepes. Like the crepes, you know, they make crepes and then they put inside not the crepes that you're making for Shavuos, which is 98%
You're not
extra
talking
sugar.
about sponge cake?
And
You're not talking about sponge?
No, because then it bunches up.
Oh, yeah.
Trima is that there's watery and there's places in the world. I haven't seen it lately too much popular. I saw that they have flour and water, just flour and water, and they have a thing, and they're very hot, and they pour the flour and water and the azoi, 1 7, and then you put inside eggs, cheese, whatever it is, not even sweet stuff. So that's trima. No, the wraps is regular dough. The wraps, you could look it up. I don't. The wraps you're buying today are regular dough. It's just that they squeeze it. That they're not just they're regular made a regular isa that's chayv b'chala. That's why in the ones in Mazonis they write shnei shlishim mitztapuchim, whatever, because it's a regular dough.
It's a little bit hard.
2/3 apples.
Water with the backwards would have this squeeze.
So I put in an egg or two. They don't. It's
heavy.
yeah. They put in an egg or two. It's not an isa. It's not isa. Isa. The din of isa has to be kilbul b'yadayim, and otherwise it's not chayav b'chala. Even shanking the sponge cake, even though it's not chayav b'chala because it's watery, but later it bunches up. It's not flat. So that's the difference.
Sponge cake would be fine or no?
No, but leidach at the end, it's only mezonos because there's a lot of sugar inside. But if it wouldn't be a lot of sugar inside, as soon as you get as I push it, it's anyway. There's so much sugar and flour. So if it wasn't for the sugar, it's if it's not negay l'maisa. He's saying that there's a concept of trima. Trima is when it's flour and water and it's watery, and then you didn't bake it and it bunched up.
Pancakes are
Pancakes. Yeah, but pancakes have so much sugar inside that the vitamin. You have to look at the ingredients.
Make your own sure I put in kids with the sugar.
So yemel taka, yemel taka it's negay. But taka they're flat.
Right.
That taka that's trima. That's taka trima, which is mazonis. But in the same mixture, if you put into a pan, it became thick. It wouldn't be portion that it's mazonis. It is mazonis to boil the cake if we put in a lot of eggs and sugar. Okay. Maybe she'll help him about all these foods that we spoke about. It's soon going to be that Tisha B'Av will be a Moed Yom Tov. So we're gonna learn also about tzaddik. But we'll leave that for another time. Shkach everyone for joining us. That's Hashem. We should join together for the Suda of Mashiach Tzidkenu on Tisha B'Av.
Amen. Amen.
Tomorrow is a regular schedule.
Amen.
We're going to continue Mitzvah Shem and the Gemara. We're holding the Gemara Shabbos Daf Tezvav. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you for giving your share, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Good night.
Thank you, Rabbi.